Hello, beautiful soul. If you've been feeling emotionally on edge, sensing that something deep is stirring beneath the surface of your relationships, you're not imagining it. A rare and powerful astrological event is approaching, and it's about to shift the way you see connection, boundaries, and your place in someone else's life. On the 29th of July and 30th, the moon enters Libra, the sign of peace, balance, and partnership. But what seems like a gentle lunar moment is actually walking straight into a cosmic confrontation. Opposing this Libra moon is a formidable trio in Aries: Saturn, Neptune, and Chiron, all retrograde, all demanding truth, accountability, and deep personal reckoning. This isn't a soft invitation. It's a soul-level challenge. This opposition is no small transit, it's a pressure point. And if you've been people-pleasing, compromising too much, or silencing your truth to maintain harmony, it's going to feel heavy. Your body may already be responding: headaches, tensa yaws, restless sleep, or that quiet, gnawing sense that something just isn't right anymore. These aren't random symptoms. They are your inner self speaking to you, trying to get your attention before the external world forces a confrontation. Because over these 48 hours, everything that's been avoided, every small resentment, every suppressed need is likely to surface. What makes this moment even more sacred is the deeper initiation it's offering. Libra energy wants connection, diplomacy, mutual understanding. Aries wants self-assertion, independence, identity. And when these two clash under a sky lit by opposing forces, the tension isn't just relational, it's spiritual. You're being asked, can you stay soft and still tell the truth? Can you be in partnership and still stay in your power? Can you hold your own center without withdrawing love? The truth is, most people will feel torn. That's the point. This transit isn't here to destroy your relationships, it's here to reveal what's real and what's no longer sustainable. Some connections may end. Others will be tested and, if strong enough, will evolve. This is a sacred purge, not punishment, liberation. The universe is stripping away the illusions so you can finally see who's showing up with authenticity and who's only there when you shrink yourself. But you're not being left without support. Hidden within this confrontation is a gift, a grand air trine formed by the Libra moon, Pluto in Aquarius, and Uranus in Gemini. This is your lifeline. It allows you to rise above the emotional chaos, to gain perspective, and to communicate from a place of clarity and truth. If you can stay grounded, if you can breathe through the intensity, this aspect can help you rewrite the very foundations of how you relate to others. This is not about fixing relationships, it's about transforming how you show up in them. So if you've been feeling like you're standing on the edge of something big, it's because you are. The cosmos is initiating you into a new phase. One where connection doesn't require self-abandonment. One where being loved doesn't come at the cost of being understood. And one where your truth isn't negotiable. This is your moment. Listen to what your body is saying. Trust the friction. And above all, don't run from the tension. It's showing you exactly where the healing needs to begin. This cosmic tension reaches its peak the moment the moon enters Libra on the 29th of July. At first glance, this might feel like a gentle push toward peace, beauty, and compromise, but make no mistake, it is anything but gentle. What's unfolding in the sky is a direct confrontation between your desire to keep the peace and your soul's demand to finally speak up. The Libra moon, soft and diplomatic, wants you to mend bridges, to find common ground, to avoid rocking the boat. But directly across the sky, in bold and unapologetic Aries, sits Saturn, Neptune, and Chiron, each one retrograde, each one pulling you inward to face the truth. Saturn brings structure and hard lessons. It confronts you with the places where you've let others define your worth. Neptune dissolves illusion, often painfully so, stripping away the comforting lies you've told yourself about how fine things really are. And Chiron, wounded and wise, exposes the cracks in your identity that were formed in relationships where you had to shrink in order to be loved. Together, these planets in Aries demand that you reclaim your selfhood, even if it means disappointing others, even if it means letting go of a dynamic that's no longer aligned. This isn't a polite conversation between planets. It's a full-blown internal tug of war. One part of you wants to make everything okay, to smooth over the discomfort, to be liked and accepted. But another part is screaming to be heard, to stop pretending, to take up space without apology. That's why everything feels louder right now. Why small disagreements suddenly sting. Why being misunderstood cuts deeper than usual. Because you're no longer able to hide from yourself. The sky is holding up a mirror, and what you do with the reflection will define your next chapter. And as this inner battle plays out under the surface, your relationships will become the stage where it all erupts. This is not the kind of transit that politely asks for change, it forces it. Personal connections will be tested, not through dramatic fights, but through subtle unravelings. You might notice tension where there used to be ease. Conversations that once flowed now feel sticky. Misunderstood. Or oddly distant. Old fractures, resentments you've buried. Compromises you never voiced will start to surface like cracks in the foundation. If you've been holding a relationship together with silence, avoidance, or constant appeasement, this cosmic pressure will push everything to the edge. Some partnerships may break under that weight, revealing that their structure was built on sacrifice rather than truth. Others, however, will transform. They'll be shaken. Yes, but if both people are willing to show up differently, they can become stronger, more honest, more deeply rooted in mutual respect. Your body, too, will speak before your words do. This axis, Libra and Aries, governs the physical places where emotion becomes sensation. Have you been waking up with a pounding head? Feeling a tightness in your jaw during awkward conversations? That's Aries, signaling a crisis of identity. A pressure to assert yourself where you've gone silent. And the dull ache in your lower back? That's Libra, revealing the emotional labor of keeping things balanced at the cost of your own peace. You may find yourself unable to sleep, replaying conversations on a loop, caught in the exhausting tug of war between keeping others comfortable and finally honoring your truth. This isn't weakness, it's awareness. Your nervous system is responding to a truth your mind is still trying to name. And that feeling you can't shake, the sense of being split in two? It's the heart of this transit. One side of you wants to keep the peace. Avoid confrontation. Make sure no one's upset. The other is tired. Tired of pretending. Tired of shrinking. Tired of dimming down to be accepted. That's the rub. That's the test. And that's the gateway. Because only by acknowledging this inner conflict can you begin to break the cycle. Only by listening to your body, your emotions, your quiet unrest, can you start to build relationships that don't require you to disappear in order to belong. But beyond the emotional waves and physical signals, this transit carves into something even deeper. Your sense of self. This is where the true gravity of the moment lies, not just in what's happening between you and another person, but in what's being revealed within you. The moon in Libra, longing for peace, makes it tempting to nod along, to soften your truth for the sake of harmony. But with Saturn, Neptune, and Chiron staring back from Aries, your soul is being asked a far harder question. Can you still belong if you stop performing? Can you tell the truth about what you need, even if it disappoints someone else? This cosmic configuration doesn't just expose relational friction, it reopens the oldest wounds you carry around: identity, self-worth, and the right to take up space. You may find yourself recalling moments from childhood when you learned that being accepted meant being quiet, or relationships where you became the caretaker, The peacekeeper. The one who held it all together so no one else would fall apart. That version of you is exhausted. And now, under this rare pressure, the choice becomes impossible to avoid. Do you keep choosing agreement? Or do you start choosing authenticity? It may feel like a betrayal to finally say what you want. It may feel selfish to stop explaining yourself. But this is not about pushing others away, it's about returning to the self you abandoned to keep others close. And if you've spent years living between roles, adapting, molding, shrinking, this moment might feel like an identity crisis. In truth, it's an identity rebirth. The universe is not asking you to choose between connection and truth. It's asking you to redefine both. To find a way of relating that doesn't cost you your voice. That's the deep medicine of this opposition, and it starts by telling yourself, I get to be me. Even if it disrupts the script. And here lies the deeper opportunity, because this isn't just a cosmic test. It's also a spiritual invitation. The lesson isn't to pick a side. To abandon either your truth or your tenderness. The lesson is integration. Most people will swing between extremes. Silence themselves to keep the peace or speak with such force that it ruptures connection. But this moment is offering a third way. One that's harder, slower, and infinitely more rewarding. How to be fully yourself and stay in relationship. How to speak honestly without burning the bridge. How to honor your truth without forgetting someone else's. That's where the grand air trine comes in, your hidden map through the storm, while the moon in Libra locks eyes with the Aries trio. A triangle of supportive air energy quietly forms in the background, connecting the moon, Pluto in Aquarius, and Uranus in Gemini. This isn't a loud, dramatic energy. It's subtle, cerebral, and powerful. If you can pause, breathe, and shift from reactivity to awareness, this trine offers a new path forward. Start with Gemini, the messenger. This is where truth begins with honest, clear, compassionate communication. Say what you need to say. Not to attack, but to reveal. Let your words come from clarity, not chaos. Let yourself be heard, not louder, just truer. Then turn to Aquarius, the observer. Pluto here invites deep perspective. Step back. See the bigger picture. Notice your patterns without shame. Look at the relationship as a system, not a battlefield. When emotions flare, this is the energy that helps you stay present without getting swallowed by the moment. And finally, return to Libra, the balancer. This is your heart's wisdom, not to erase differences, but to find harmony within them. It's not about giving up parts of yourself for the sake of peace, but about creating a new kind of peace where all parts of you are welcome. Together, these three signs form a kind of spiritual triangulation, a compass pointing you toward a deeper way of being. Not either or, not peace or authenticity, but both. Always both. This is the alchemy of the moment. Learning to hold contradiction, to sit with discomfort, and still choose presence. Because real love, real relationship doesn't require your silence. It requires your wholeness. And that is what the universe is calling you to reclaim. The most sacred part of this transit unfolds within a concentrated 48-hour window, from the night of the 29th of July through the 31st of July. This is not just a fleeting emotional phase. It is a precise, divine alignment, a pressure point, crafted by the cosmos to open what's long been sealed inside you. At the very moment the Libra moon triggers this opposition, Chiron stations retrograde in Aries, amplifying the emotional impact and turning the spotlight inward. You may feel exposed, raw, like everything you've tried to hold together emotionally is coming undone. But that unraveling isn't destruction, it's revelation. The universe is peeling back the layers, showing you where you've compromised too much, where you've stayed quiet for too long, and where your soul has been silently aching for truth. This is the moment to see clearly, not just what others are doing to you, but what you've been allowing. It's the time to stop pretending things are okay when they're not. To name the patterns. To acknowledge the resentment. To admit that people-pleasing has left you feeling invisible. This transit calls for new boundaries not as punishment, but as protection. And those boundaries aren't about pushing people away. They're about making space for relationships that can meet you where you are now. This is the shift from survival to sovereignty. And it begins by telling yourself the truth you've been afraid to say out loud. I deserve to feel safe and seen. And just as the tension reaches its peak, something soft arrives. On the 30th of July, Venus enters Cancer, and the timing couldn't be more perfect. After the fire and friction, this is the balm. The gentle, nurturing energy of Venus in Cancer helps you wrap your own arms around what feels wounded. It reminds you that healing isn't just about cutting ties, it's about creating a new emotional home. One where you don't have to perform to be loved. One where softness isn't mistaken for weakness, but honored as strength. In this phase, your heart will crave authenticity, not attention. You'll want connections that nourish, not drain. And you'll find that the relationships which survive this transit feel different. Not because the other person changed, but because you're no longer willing to abandon yourself for closeness. Venus in Cancer supports this return to emotional truth. It encourages you to build relationships that feel like sanctuary, not strategy. And most importantly, it gives you permission to stop acting and start feeling again. So let this be your turning point. Let this be the moment where you draw the line not to keep others out, but to finally let your real self in. You are not here to be agreeable. You are here to be whole. And this sacred 48-hour portal may hurt, but it will heal. What you choose now will echo into every future relationship you build from this moment forward. And here is what must be understood before this moment passes. This isn't just a 2-day emotional wave or a temporary cosmic storm. It is a turning point, a quiet but seismic shift in how we understand connection, both individually and collectively. The moon opposing Saturn, Neptune, and Chiron in Aries isn't merely highlighting problems in our relationships. It's dismantling the old blueprint altogether. The ways we've been taught to love by sacrificing ourselves, by performing for acceptance, by staying silent to keep others comfortable, are no longer sustainable. This transit makes that truth undeniable. For those who are willing to look deeper, to stay present with the discomfort instead of numbing out or running back to old patterns. A door is opening. A new kind of relationship is being born, not built on control or compromise, but on clarity, authenticity, and mutual respect. And it starts within. It starts with you no longer needing to be chosen in order to feel worthy. With you saying, I don't want to be needed for what I can give. I want to be loved for who I am when I'm not performing. This is evolution. It's not dramatic. It's not always loud, but it is permanent. Once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. Once you feel what balanced connection actually tastes like, you stop settling for anything less. And yes, it may mean walking away from relationships that can't meet you at this level. But more importantly, it means finally walking toward yourself fully, unapologetically, and without delay. So if something in you has been stirring, if you felt like you're standing at the edge of some invisible threshold, trust it. This isn't just a hard week. It's the beginning of a new relational era, one where you don't have to disappear to be loved. You're not here to maintain peace at the cost of your soul. You're here to create connection rooted in truth. And this is the moment you begin. So as we come to the end of this message, I want you to pause just for a moment and feel what's moving inside you right now. Maybe it's a quiet knowing. Maybe it's a lump in your throat. Maybe it's a soft ache where you've been holding everything together for too long. Whatever it is, don't turn away. This is the moment your spirit has been waiting for, not to break down, but to break through. The next 48 hours aren't here to destroy what you've built. They're here to reveal what's real, what's strong enough to grow with you, and what's asking to be released. You don't have to fix everything. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to be honest with yourself. First, that's where healing begins. So let the Libra moon guide you toward balance. Not by losing yourself for peace, but by learning how to carry your truth with peace. Let the fire from Aries remind you of who you are beneath the roles, the masks, the obligations, and let Venus in Cancer, soft and true, teach you how to love again from a place of safety, not survival. You were never meant to shrink to be loved. You were meant to be seen in your fullness. This is your turning point. Choose yourself, not as a weapon, but as a vow. Because when you stop abandoning yourself, the universe stops abandoning you too. Until next time, take gentle care. And remember, real connection always begins with truth.